The mother remained behind with her daughters, trying to soothe their aching hearts. But their tears flowed together, united in their sorrow, as they huddled close, each one sharing the weight of the loss. The pack moved swiftly, like the wind sweeping through the valley, searching every stone, every tree. They called upon the other creatures of the valley, the elk, the fox, the cougar, the coyote, asking if anyone had seen the missing pup. Most of the animals knew the pack, respected them, but despite their help, the pup remained unfound. The valley seemed vast and empty without him. While the search continued, back in the den, the mother's tears fell uncontrollably, her grief too heavy to hold in. She wept for her lost son, her voice a whisper choked with sorrow. "My son, please, be well. Return to us. Oh, my son." Her words, heavy with pain, broke the hearts of those around her. The oldest sister knelt beside her mother, wrapping her in a hug. "Mother, he will be found," she whispered, her voice trembling. The second sister, trying to believe her own words, said, "Yes, he will return to us. I miss him so much." The third sister, her voice thick with emotion, added, "We all miss him, but I wouldn't forgive myself if he..." She couldn't finish. The words were too hard to speak. Their tears flowed together, their cries echoing in the den, their hearts weighed down by sorrow and thoughts that grew heavier with each passing moment. Each of them felt the burden of loss, as if it were a tangible thing. Outside the den, the father stood silently, torn between reason and emotion. His mind raced, trying to balance the need to stay strong with the fear that gnawed at him, that his son might be lost forever. His heart ached with worry, but he could not afford to let it break. That night, the father stood beneath the moon, its pale light casting long shadows over the valley. He gazed up at it, remembering the gentle smile his son once gave him, a smile that had always warmed his heart. Now that warmth seemed so distant, swallowed by the cold ache of uncertainty. As the pack returned, the father's ears perked up. His heart raced as he, the mother, and the daughters rushed to hear the news, hoping against hope. One of the wolves stepped forward, his head bowed, his eyes reflecting the grief of failure. "My chief," he began, his voice heavy, "I'm sorry. But we couldn't find him. We searched every stone, every tree, every cave. Not a single sign. I'm truly sorry." The words felt like a final blow, turning the family's worst fears into a living nightmare. The mother screamed, her heart breaking under the weight of the news. Her cries pierced the night as though her very soul was being torn apart. Tears streamed down her face, each one heavy with the pain of a mother who feared she would never see her son again. It felt as though her life had been shattered, and she could no longer breathe through the crushing grief. The sisters, their own tears flowing freely, rushed to their mother's side, clinging to her as they cried together. The air in the den became thick with sorrow, their collective grief overwhelming. The father, standing strong amidst the despair, tried to hold back his tears, tried to be the rock his family needed. But the pain was too great. Slowly, his own tears fell, and he pulled his mate and daughters into a tight embrace, his body trembling with the effort to contain the heartbreak. And in that moment, the pack joined them, howling into the night, their voices rising together in mourning. The valley echoed with their sorrow, as if the land itself grieved alongside them. The dark spirit watches next to them, but they cannot see him. A twisted and yet sinister smile he gave, then he began to say in poetry the words, "For the winter has come. Truth must be shared, no one shall be spared. All things you cherish, in time will perish. The life you cling to, so blinded, I'll show how deeply you're misguided. The pain you've buried, now reminded, the winter's touch in your soul, forever resided." Winter had come, and the snow brought its heavy sadness to the land. Far from the valley, while the wolves continued their mournful howling, the wolf pup struggled through the fierce storm. The wind howled with rage, and the thunder echoed like the earth's cry of fury. He pushed forward, but the storm only grew more intense. The cold bit into him, and his legs grew weaker with every step. He raised his head one last time, letting out a broken howl that was lost in the storm. "Father, mother, sisters, I'm sorry," he whispered into the icy wind. His strength gave way, and he collapsed onto the snow-covered ground, waiting for death to claim him. The blizzard raged on, wrapping him in its cold embrace, and the world began to fade. But then, through the swirling storm, he saw something. A white eagle perched in the distance, watching him with piercing eyes. The eagle stepped closer, and then, to his surprise, it spoke. "My friend, your path has not come to an end. Arise and follow me. There is someone you must meet." The wolf pup, weak and barely conscious, looked at the eagle. As he gazed into its eyes, he felt something shift within him. The darkness that had clouded his heart began to lift, slowly perishing in the eagle's presence. With what little strength he had left, the pup rose and followed the eagle through the storm. After what felt like an eternity, they reached their destination, a secluded place beyond the reach of the storm. The eagle turned to him and said, "Wait here, I will speak with someone on your behalf." The eagle disappeared into a cave, leaving the pup to stand alone, his heart heavy but his spirit curious. Inside the cave, the eagle spoke to another being. "O wise one, I have brought you a lost soul who seeks his way back to the light." The eagle said, "You have done well, my friend," a deep voice replied. "Tell him I wish to speak with him." The eagle nodded and returned to the pup, his voice calm and reassuring. "The wise one wishes to speak with you, son of the Alpha." The pup entered the cave, and there, standing tall and ancient, was the wise one, a great bison, his eyes full of wisdom and power. The great bison gazed down at the wolf pup, his voice rich with ancient wisdom. "Greetings, son of the Alpha. I have been expecting you." The words, filled with quiet authority, echoed through the cave, carrying a weight that made the young wolf tremble. "How do you know of me?" the wolf pup stammered, his eyes wide with both fear and curiosity. The bison's gaze softened, yet his words remained steady. "I see much, young one. Your heart is burdened with struggle, your soul heavy with suffering. The dark spirit has tempted you with his words, and I see within you a fire, small but still burning, a candle flickering against the winds of despair." The wolf pup blinked, shocked by the truth in the bison's words. It was as if the great creature could see into his very soul, into the turmoil he hadn't spoken aloud. "Is it true?" the pup asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. "Is the world cursed, corrupted?" The bison let out a deep breath, his eyes filled with both sorrow and understanding. "Indeed, there is darkness in the world. The dark spirit spoke truth, yet only half of it. Do not let his words drag you into the abyss, for though the world carries shadows, it is also filled with light, beauty, and blessings." The wolf pup hesitated, confusion swirling within him. But how can a world hold both? The great bison smiled gently, his ancient eyes gleaming with wisdom. "Where there is darkness, there is also light. As long as evil exists, so too will goodness shine. Life is a balance, young one. You have seen the pain, the fear, but do not forget the same world that brings sorrow also brings joy." The wolf looked up, still uncertain. But the dark spirit said. The bison interrupted with calm authority. "The dark spirit wishes to drown you in despair. He shows you the shadows and hides the stars. He wants you to believe that only coldness exists, that only suffering is real. But that is not the truth. The dark emotions he preaches, fear, hatred, rage, they will give you no warmth. They are the touch of ice on the soul." The cave seemed to grow warmer as the bison spoke, the weight of his words settling over the young wolf like a gentle, guiding light. "The world is a reflection of both light and shadow, good and bad." The bison continued. "It is not perfect, but neither is it lost. And your heart, young one, holds the power to choose which you embrace. Will you cling to the shadows, or will you seek the light?" The wolf pup felt something stir deep within his soul, a flicker of warmth like the flames of joy igniting in his heart. The wise bison's words resonated with him, awakening a sense of clarity and strength he had never known. It was as if wisdom itself, like the sound of distant thunder, was rumbling through his spirit, bringing with it a new kind of power. The great bison's eyes gleamed as he spoke, his voice calm but filled with ancient truth. A being who stands firm amid the chaos that surrounds him is 10 times greater in spirit than those who surrender to it. The wolf pup, still awestruck by the bison's wisdom, looked up with questioning eyes. What does that mean? The bison, towering above him like a symbol of strength and wisdom, gazed down gently. It means this, young one. A soul that faces near destruction, yet refuses to bow to despair, is a soul that holds the greatest power of all. This power comes not from rage or fear, but from those forces that bring warmth to the heart, hope, courage, perseverance. And above all, one source of strength shines brightest. The wolf pup tilted his head, curiosity blooming in his chest. What source is that? The bison's deep voice softened, as if the answer was both a truth and a gift. Love. Love? The wolf echoed, confusion swirling in his voice. Indeed, the bison said with a slow nod, his wise eyes reflecting the light of ages. Love, young one. The love of your family. Those who cherish you, believe in you, and stand by your side. In their love, you will find the strength to face the darkest of nights, the coldest of winters. It is the love you hold for them and they for you that will be your greatest source of power. It is a fire that will never fade, even when all else does. The wolf pup felt his heart tighten at the thought of his family, his father, mother, and sisters. He remembered their faces, the warmth they had always given him, the belief they held in him. He had been lost in the darkness for so long, but now he could feel that love rekindling within him, as bright as a star against the night sky. The eagle, who had been silently watching, finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. Wise one, it is time. We shall guide him back to his family. The great bison nodded, his eyes full of gentle wisdom. Indeed, my friend. Come now, son of the Alpha. Your family awaits you. The wolf pup felt a surge of warmth flood his heart, his spirit renewed and the flame within him burning brighter than ever before. The darkness that had once clouded his mind had vanished, replaced by a light that seemed to shine like the sun itself. Hope, love, and purpose coursed through him. With a final glance at the bison and the eagle, the wolf pup stood tall, no longer the lost soul he had once been. Together they made their way back, the wolf now filled with a fire that would guide him home. However, one thing shall happen.